here are some practice problems that we're going to go through. So the first one, we're going to solve this equation. And to solve this equation, we have to change these numbers into the same number. So 9 and 27, when you think about that, 9 is 3 squared, and 27 is 3 cubed. So I change my 9 into 3 squared and my 27 into 3 cubed. Now I'm going to multiply these exponents, and that's going to be a distributive. And now, since these are now both the same number, I can drop them out and just set my exponents equal to each other. So subtracting 3x, subtracting 2, it looks like that one worked out nicely for x to equal 10. Okay, number 2. So our job here is just to find the period and the amplitude. Now the amplitude is easy. The amplitude's this number right here. Now it is always positive, so even if that had been a negative there, the amplitude would still be 6. That is the amplitude number. The period of a sine or a cosine, this could be a cosine, wouldn't change anything. The period of a sine or a cosine is supposed to be 360. That's what the period is supposed to be. That number divides 360. So the new period is 90 degrees, 360 divided by 4. Whatever number that is, it divides 360. So you're always going to take 360 divided by that number. Okay, number 3. To solve this, real easy, we're going to loop-de-loo it. So 4, start with that number right there. See where my arrow is starting, right here. 4 to the second equals x. 4 to the second equals x. So 4 to the second is 16. So the answer to the problem is 16. All right. Now we got to talk about our asymptotes and it looks like the y-intercept. All right, so we got a little function here, simple little function. Looks like this. We need a vertical, horizontal, and y-intercept. Your vertical asymptote comes from the denominator. The denominator can't be 0. So your vertical asymptote is going to be what makes that 0. Well, what makes that 0? 8. So your vertical asymptote is x equals 8. Your denominator can never, ever, ever be 0. So anything that makes it 0 is going to be a vertical asymptote. Horizontal asymptote, that's where we box it in. That's our limit. Our limit. So the horizontal asymptote is y equals 4. And then to find your y-intercept, you're going to let x be 0. You're going to put in zeros for all the x's. So if we put in 0 for the x's, we get 4 times 0 plus 2, which is just 2. And then 0 minus 8, which is negative 8. We're putting in zeros for the x's. So that's going to give us 0, negative 1/4. All right, next. We're going to solve a system. This is so easy, not sure why we're missing this, that you know how to do this for sure. You can solve this with substitution or elimination. It doesn't make a bit of difference. You're going to do whatever makes you comfortable. What makes me comfortable is elimination. So I'm gonna multiply the bottom row by 4. You do not have to solve it this way, but we're gonna get the same answer. So make sure however you're doing it, you're getting my answer. So 5x minus 4y equals negative 2, and then 24x plus 4y equals 60. The reason I did that is so those are eliminated. So 29x equals 58, and x equals 2. Now we're not done. That's my x. My x is 2. These two lines are crossing at a point. The x coordinate is 2. So now I'm going to go back up to either equation. I think I'll use the bottom one. And 6 times 2 plus y equals 15. So 12 plus y equals 15. I just put in 2 for my x. And it looks like y has to equal 3. That is the answer. Make sure you have both of those for your answer. All right, 8 to the 1/3. This may have actually been somebody's exam question. 8 to the 1/3 means the cube root of 8 to the first. A fractional exponent means a radical, and this tells you which radical, in this case, the cube root of 8 to the first. The cube root of 8 is 2, and 2 to the first is 2. Now, if that had been 8 to the negative 1/3, I would do everything exactly the same, except 1 over 8 to the 1/3. I would have to start by making it 1 over, because that's what we do with negative exponents. And then everything would be the same. So this would end up being 1 over 2. 1 over 2, because of the negative exponent. Okay, we're finding the exact value of the tangent at 240. So the first thing we're going to do is draw the tangent at 240. So remembering your labels, your regular standard position labels, they never change. So 240, here's 180, I'm past 180, but I'm not yet to 270. So that's 60. The sides of the triangle are root 3, 1, and 2. And both of those are negative. That's the part, you have to pay attention to that if you want to get full credit for the problem. You've got to keep track of those negatives. Now we want tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is just the square root of 3. So the answer would be the square root of 3. And then number 8 says we're going to add 2 A's plus a B. Okay, that's our job. We're adding 2 A's plus a B. So first thing we do is take our 2 times all those things. It's called scalar multiplication, but we're going to think of it as distributing. We're just going to distribute it. So 6, negative 4, 10, and 2. And now we're just going to take all those new numbers and add the corresponding numbers, and that's going to be our answer. So 6 plus 6, negative 4 plus 0, 10 plus negative 2, and 2 plus 1. If that had been a minus, you would do everything exactly the same, only instead of adding these, you would be subtracting them. So 6 minus 6, negative 4 minus 0, and so on. If that were a minus, it's not, but if it were. All right, one more, and then that's going to be it for this. I'm going to go ahead and multiply these 2 matrices together. And they're nice little 2x2s, couldn't be any easier. We can do this. We're multiplying together, and your job is to find these 4 numbers. A new 2x2, and we're going to figure out what those numbers R. So remember how we do this. Please, please, please take the time to circle the rows of the first and the columns of the second. Use colored pencil if you want. That will help you keep your eyes focused on the right numbers. There's a lot of numbers, you're doing a lot of math. You gotta stay focused on what it is we're doing. So, I'm gonna fill this spot right here. Notice that's in the first row and the first column. So I'm gonna take my 3, -2, and I'm gonna take my 6, -2. I'm gonna match them up, first with first, second with second. Multiply each pair and add them together. So that's 18 plus 4, 22 for that very first spot. Then I'm gonna move over here, do exactly the same thing with my 3 and my -2. Only this time, we're timesing by 0 and 1. So row 1, column 2. And that's -2. Now I'm ready for row 2. So I'm going to go to my 5 and my 1 now. And then back to my 6, -2. Which will give me 28 when I multiply each pair and add them. And then my 5 and 1 and my 0. And that's going to give me a 1. And that's that. Practice, practice, practice.